In this video, we are continuing with the select statement, and today we will see how we can filter the rows using the where statement. So instead of displaying all the rows in a column or the table, we want to display only specific rows that meet a specific criteria. We are still using the same sample database for a bookshop. We have the customers table, orders table, order items, books, book author, author, and publisher. And again, we are only interested in selecting data or retrieving data from only one table at a time in this video. We are not looking at multiple tables. We are just looking at retrieving data from one table at a time. So let's look at one of our tables, the customers table. I'm going to select star from customers. And that should display all the columns and rows that we have in the customers table. Before we start looking at the where statement, let's start looking at selecting one column like we did before. And let's say I want to display the state column. So state, so select state from customers, and that should display all the states that I have. Now you'll notice that I have some states that are duplicated here. So for example, Florida is repeated once more here, and New Jersey is repeated twice. So in case I wanted to display only unique values, so I want to display all the states, but since some customers will be residing or living in the same state, I might get duplicate values when I want to display the values in that column. So to get unique values or distinct values, I can use the distinct keyword before that, before the state. So before the column that I want to select, I can use distinct, and that will only display distinct or unique values. So when I used the select statement without the distinct keyword, I got 20 rows. If I use the distinct, you'll see that I'm only getting 12 unique values. So we omitted or removed all the repeated values from that column. So to display only unique values, you can use the keyword distinct before the column that you want to display, and that will only display distinct values for that column. So let's go back and display all the rows and columns. So I'm going to select star from my customers table, and again that will display all the columns and rows I have in here. So to filter or to display only some columns, after the select part, I will place here the column names that I want to display. Now if you wanted to filter your rows, we can use the where statement, and that will filter the rows that you want to display. So for example, if I only wanted to display customer information for all the customers who live in the state of Florida, I can do that using the where condition. So after the where part of my select statement, I can put a condition that will display only the rows that satisfy that condition. So what is my condition? I want the column state to be equal to Florida. So the value in the column state, I want it to be equal to the FL value. So I can put state equals FL, and that will filter all the values that only have the FL value in the state column. So if I run this, it will only display the customers that reside in Florida, only the customers that have the value in the state column equal to FL. Now, two things to note here. When you are comparing with strings or string values or text values, you are using single quotations. If you use double quotations, like we have here, you'll actually get an error. So we cannot use double quotations with Oracle in here. We will be using single quotations. Another thing to notice also, that in Oracle here, we have our values or text values are case sensitive. So if you look, the way we are storing the state value in our tables, we are storing them in all uppercase. So if you try to compare it with lowercase, so FL in lowercase, you'll see I will not be getting any results because there is no value that matches FL in lowercase. So again, when you are comparing text values, we have the equality sign to compare text values. We are using single quotations, not double quotations, and then we are using the same exact uppercase or lowercase values that we stored in our database. So if we stored the state in all uppercase, we have to compare it with all uppercase. If we stored it in all lowercase, we need to maintain the case of that letter. So uppercase, it will compare it with uppercase. If they are equal, we'll get or retrieve that result. So it's not only text values that we can compare, we can also compare numeric values. So for example, let's go and look at our books table. So select star from books. So select star from books, and we'll see that we have some columns that have numeric values. So if you wanted to get all the books that have a price equal to 19, I can have my where condition where cost is equal to 19. Now notice when you are using numeric values or you're comparing with numeric values, you are not using single quotations, you are just putting the numbers directly. So when you run this, it will display all the books that have a cost equal to 19, and you'll see that I only have one book that has a cost equal to 19. It's not only equality, you can also compare with other comparison operators. So you want to display all the books that have a price greater than 19, so or the cost greater than 19, and it will display all the books that have price or cost greater than 19. If you want to include the books that have a cost greater than 19 or equal to 19, you can put the equality sign, so it's greater than or equal to 19, and that will display also the books that have a cost equal to 19. So we are not only comparing text values, we can also compare numerical values. In numerical values, we do not surround the value with quotations. We use the numerical value immediately without quotations. For comparison with numbers, we can use all the comparison operators: equals, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, or less than or equal. We can also see the not equal. So if you put the exclamation point before the equal sign, that will get you all the books that has a cost not equal to 19. So it will display all the books that do not have a cost equal to 19. So basically all the books except that book that has a cost equal to 19. You can also compare to other column values. So instead of comparing with a specific numeric value, you can also compare one column to another column. So if you wanted to see if the retail price is greater than the cost, you can have your condition to only display books that have a retail greater than cost. So in this case, the books that we are selling for a price greater than the cost, so we are making a profit out of it. So if we run this, it will display basically all the books. If we want to see which books we are losing money on, so cost is greater than the retail, in this case you will see that we are not selling any book that has a cost greater than retail. You can also look for a value that fits in a range. So if you are looking for all the books that have a price between 19 and 25, you can do that using the between and keyword. So where the cost between 19 and 25, in this case, it will look for the cost between these two values, 19 and 25. So if we run this, it will display all the books that have a cost that is between 19 and 25, including these values, so including 19 and 25. So if you want to see 21.8, that will also be, it will be displaying only these two books. So 19 and 28, 21.8, it will display all the books that fall in this range between 19 and 21.8. So the column that you want to look for values in the range, between and, these are our keywords, the first value in the range, and then after the and you'll put the last value in that range. So between and, this is to help you look for values that fall in a range. So it's not, you're not looking at a value greater than or less than, you want to look for a value greater than or equal to 19 and at the same time less than or equal to 21.8. And in this case, we have two books that fall into that range. Now, in some cases, you are not looking for values that fall into a range. So you're not looking for continuous values. So it's not all the values that fall between 19 and 21.8. Sometimes, let's say that you are looking for books that fall into the computer category or the cooking category. So you do not have a range in this case. You have a list of values that you want to compare with. You're not comparing to only one value, you are comparing to multiple values. So let's look at selecting all the books that fall into the cooking category. So where the category is equal to cooking. Again, remember, when you are comparing string or text values, you have to surround the text value with single quotations, and you have to maintain the upper or lower case of the value. So I'm comparing or getting all the books that fall into the cooking category, and I have 2 books. Now, if I wanted to display the cooking category and let's say the computer category, in this case, I can compare to a list of values instead of comparing to one value. To compare to a list of values, you can use the in keyword, and then you can pass the list of values in parentheses. Each value, again, you surround it with single quotations, so cooking, and you separate these values, or the list of values, you separate them with commas, so cooking, comma, computer. So it will go check for every value that the category is equal to cooking or the category is equal to computer, will be displaying these rows. So see, it's displaying all the rows that have a category equal to computer or cooking. So we are comparing to a list of values now. We are not comparing to a single value, we are comparing to a list of values. Now, most of the time you are not only checking for one condition. So for example, you are not only displaying the books that are in the computer category, you want to display the books that are in the computer category and have a cost that is greater than or a retail price that is greater than $50. So to display the books that are in the computer category, I can use where the category is equal to computer, and that will display all the books that are in the computer category. If I wanted to display again the books that are in the computer category and have a retail price greater than 50, I can use one of these logical operators, which is the AND operator. Now the AND operator will help you have more than one condition in your select statement. So the first condition is we want to have the books in the computer category. The second condition, we want to have the retail greater than 50. So retail is greater than 50. So the first step, we will check that this book is in the computer category. And then we want to check, do they have a retail price greater than 50? If both conditions are true, we'll be displaying that result. If one of them is false, we will not be displaying that row. So you'll see I only have 3 books that satisfy that condition. So they have the computer category and a price greater than 50. So if we run this, we'll be displaying 3 books instead of 4. So you can combine as many conditions as you want. So I can have another condition, and let's say that the publisher ID is equal to 3. So in this case, we'll be displaying books that have the computer category, a retail greater than 50, and the publisher ID is equal to 3. So I have 3 conditions that I need to satisfy, and in this case, I'm only displaying 2 results. Another logical operator we can use is the OR operator. In the OR operator, if one of the conditions is true, in that case, we'll be displaying that row. So if we wanted to rewrite our previous query where we displayed the books that fall in the computer category or the cooking category, I can rewrite it using the OR logical operator. So where the category is equal to computer or the category is equal to cooking. So we'll go check every row in our table. If the category is equal to computer, we'll display it. If it's not, we'll check, is it equal to cooking? If that's the case, we'll display it. Otherwise, if it's not one of these 2 categories, we will not be displaying that book. So it's similar to the N operator that we used before, but in this case, I'm using the OR operator.